All right, everybody, welcome back. Good afternoon now, and it's time we take a look at some depth, some center depth. Guys we could sign for a backup role, guys that you could sign if you're really trying to get away with not spending money or resources on the position, which I guess might work if you really, really shore up the other positions, but yeah, this is not the route I want to go down after what this team has been for the last several years when it comes to interior offensive line. That would probably indicate that you're in a similar position and you're doing things the same way and will get similar results to what you've had recently. Now, personally, I would say this route is probably not that important to consider for Seahawks fans. And I say that because Oluwatimi has 2 years left on his rookie deal. If you're looking at Oluwatimi as the backup, then that's your backup and you don't need another backup. Your team doesn't need a bunch of centers. You need two, maybe another guy who can snap in an emergency, but realistically, you need two centers. Now, if you want Oluwatimi to start, I would think you would want to bring somebody in to at least compete with him, to push him a little bit. And these guys are unlikely to really push him. These are guys that are, for one reason or another, better suited to be backups. And it would basically be giving Oluwatimi the green light that he's going to start no matter what. So I don't think you go this way either way. I guess there's a scenario where you say Oluwatimi's the starter and we're just going to get a backup. But I would be very cautious around these guys. These guys would probably give you about what you got out of guys like Austin Blythe, Evan Brown, even Connor Williams. Not even what you got out of Connor Williams probably. Connor Williams probably gave you more, as forgettable as he was, than these guys would. But let's take a look at him. Austin Corbett, this is going to be the first guy we take a look at here. Formerly of the Panthers, spent a long time with the Rams, spent a little bit of time with the Cleveland Browns. Won a Super Bowl with the Rams, actually. Most of his career, he's been a guard, and it's possible that he ends up being viewed as a guard by most teams that want to sign him. Always kind of hard to determine that. But he played 5 games last year for the Panthers and mostly played center. And he played, well, actually entirely played center, excuse me. And he played fairly well, about average, 62.9, workable. So that's probably what he is now. So I still wouldn't sign this guy as a starter. I'd still be cautious around doing that. But as a backup, maybe. Botrack does have a market value page for him, 1 year, 2.7 million. Pretty reasonably priced. Seems reasonable to me. Seems about right. This guy is going to turn 30 right when the season starts. So I don't think there's going to be a huge market for him, but he's not old yet. So there could definitely be something interesting here with Corbett. Daniel Brunskill of the Tennessee Titans. Spent most of his career in San Francisco before spending the last 2 years in Tennessee. Actually been a starter for most of his career. But I don't think you're looking at him as a starter anymore unless you're really trying to get away with something. This guy is already 31. He's going to turn 32 before Super Bowl 60. So at this point, if he's still a starter, it is by the slimmest of margins, and I think it would be unwise to look at him as such. Last year as a center, Pro Football Focus, by the way, he played some at right guard as well, I should say that. And throughout much of his career, he's played a lot of guard. But last year, he played center, and he played it at a pretty below average level, according to Pro Football Focus. They weren't big fans of what they saw. Barely a top 50 center among those that qualify. So Daniel Brunskill, to me, is a guy that could sucker you into signing as a starter, but you are better off looking at him as a backup. Excuse me. Botrack does not have a market value page for him. I think you're looking at something like 1 year, 2.5 million, something like that. 1 year, 2.3 million, somewhere in that realm. He's got to prove it. And at this point, it might be too late for him to prove it. He's an older guy now. He might just need to settle into that quality backup role where he only plays when the guy in front of him gets hurt. So not a bad option if you're looking for depth. maybe would even be good enough to push Oluwatimi. Same with Corbett, but it's not the bet that I would make. And given the way this team has treated these positions recently, left guard, right guard, center, I don't want to be making long shot bets here because I don't need to. Next guy would be familiar for us, Nick Harris. And the fact that we signed him last year, I think it was last year, and then traded him is probably an indication that there wouldn't be a lot of interest here. But it is worth noting that we only traded him because we signed Connor Williams late in the offseason. So there could be a situation where the Seahawks actually like Nick Harris, and they just didn't have room for him after Connor Williams came on board. And now they're like, oh, let's just bring him back. He's got a little bit of familiarity with these players on offense. So let's reincorporate Nick Harris into this roster. He played a little bit for the Browns in 2024. Not a lot, being honest. Not much you can glean from a season where he played less than 80 snaps. 49 overall grade, 50 almost is not very good. We don't like that. Here before, he played a lot more, and he graded out a little below average, but workable for a backup. So this is an interesting concept. Bring back Nick Harris. He is coming off a year where he barely played. So you take a look at his Spotrac, he's got no market value. But last year we got him for 1 year, $2.4 million. After a season where he didn't play, he will be lucky to get that again. You're probably looking at something like 1 year 1.5, 1 year 2, somewhere between those two numbers. So very cheap, and you're getting a guy who has played decent football in this league before. Never been great, never been a full-time starter, but he's been a viable backup. If he fits your scheme, I don't think it's too bad of an idea. And the last guy we're going to go over in this video, there's going to be a second video with more depth centers, Michael Deiter. Michael Deiter of the Commanders, formerly of the Dolphins, spent a year in Houston, has been a starter in this league, started out at guard, has moved to center in recent years for the most part, has mostly played center, played every game but only had 2 starts for the Commanders last year. 2024, for the little bit that he did play, it was pretty poor according to Pro Football Focus, 51.1, one of the worst graded centers in football. But the year before that, it was manageable. And it was a big sample size, too. It was almost 700 snaps, and it was almost all at center. So 57.1 would be pretty reasonable for a backup. Now, there's no market value page for Deiter, but I do think that you're probably looking at something like 1 year, $1.5 million. He's in his prime. He should be able to play his best football right now. He offers a little bit of guard flexibility. Maybe you push that up to 1 year, $2 million because of that. But I think that this is a reasonable avenue for the Seahawks to pursue if they want to sign a backup interior lineman who can play a couple different spots and mostly is providing backup at center. So I don't mind any of this. I think all of these options are at the very least on the table. Corbett and Brunskill might be a little bit more leaning towards the starter place where they could at least push for a starting job, whereas guys like Harris and Deiter are kind of pure backups. But these are all guys I would qualify as depth. I would not look at them as being pure starters. And yeah, that's it for this video. We're going to do one more video about depth at center. But these 4 guys would be my first 4 guys to consider. Let me know what you think. Let me know if anything stands out to you. More videos coming soon. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Continue to have a good day.